All right, we ready to go with our next guest? Pierzynski with John Smoltz in the
no
house.
big deal. Just a Hall of
One of
Famer,
the
guy calls
favorites.
the World Series.
What are you sitting on a booster seat?
No, dude, you're little.
It's depth perception.
We're never
John,
together though. You're always doing the A game. I'm doing the B game. So we're never sitting next to each other. So you forget.
Wait, John knows this. This is a TV trick, John. You know this, right? We've worked with people that maybe are shorter, and all of a sudden, if you're in a TV studio, they will stand a few steps ahead of you, and then people look at them on TV and they're like, "Oh, they're the same height," and you're like, "No, that dude's 6'4" and that dude's 5'10."
Trick of TV. It didn't make me look like I got hair, but there's a lot of tricks that can be done.
Oh, Jesus.
So what do you think of this thing, John? Obviously, you're in tournaments all the time. And when did you find out about it? And what's it looking like? Because I think you're going to be able to say a few years from now, oh, I went to the first one, because I think it's going to be big.
Yeah, I found out in the off season, and certainly Orlando's not that far from Atlanta. And I will use any excuse there is to play golf. And for the record, I have the greatest wife in the world, because I will now have been in 3 straight golf tournaments this week, next week, and the following week. Will be 3 straight golf tournaments, and I couldn't do that without her blessing. So this is a lot of fun, and anytime we can compete, AJ and I have competed in other tournaments. It doesn't replace what we did for a living, but it sure is fun.
I wouldn't say we compete, because you're always at the top of the leaderboard, and I'm like kind of in the middle-ish. Like, you're trying to win, I'm trying to get like top 20. So we don't really compete on the same level. It's different.
Well, we start off
even, and then you go up and I go down. It's fine. But humble brag yourself right now. This guy right here, he qualified for final round of Champions Tour, which is the senior PGA, against all these guys that you've heard of. So humble brag yourself right now, John.
Well, honestly, I was just trying to see how far I could take my golf game once I had 2 new hips, I haven't named them yet, but I'm thinking about
one of them's got to be Ole for golf. Right. Your caddy has carried your bag for years.
I was tired of walking around like an old man. I feel 20 years younger, and I'm just trying to compete, and certainly that's a fun thing. Now I really got to shoot birdies. I got to go way low. So no, it's fun, and I just want to see how far I can take the game.
All right, so who's out there? What's the competition look like? Did you go to the event last night, or did you get in this morning?
No, I went to the event last night. There's, I'm trying my best to play the old man role here, because I'm the oldest guy here. And there's some young guys that hit it 30, 40 yards by me, but that's okay. I'll be the first on the green, hopefully the first in the hole. But no, guys like Kyle Loesch, Clippard, Punto. There's 9 guys, at least 9, that are plus handicaps. So baseball is well represented, and this thing's going to grow. I know it's going to grow and continue to get bigger. And, again, if they're keeping score and there's a leaderboard, my motto is I want to be on it. And at the end of the day, I'd like to win it, but I still want to be on it.
Hey, is there anybody right now that you're playing with there you're like, wow, I didn't know he was that good at golf? Has there been some guys that you're like, dude, I'm pretty impressed with some of these baseball players?
Yeah, some of the current guys that I would never get a chance to play with is going to be interesting to see how they navigate, their off season and play golf. Whit Merrifield, of course, put this event on, so I'm playing with him. Be interesting to see, position players. We just don't think position players compete with pitchers, but that's just
one's an athlete, one's not. We know which
one has time and the other doesn't. Yeah.
So one's a kicker and one's an actual player. So.
Yeah, so there's a lot of pitchers here represented and a few position players.
Okay. Do you get an opportunity here to meet some guys that obviously you're going to be able to talk about throughout the season? And I know, even Whit said, they wanted a bigger turnout. He's very transparent about it, but a lot of the guys either A, find out about it a little too late, B, they don't know that they're golfers, right? Yeah. It's not like there's some master list from the union that says, here are all the golfers that you should reach out to. He's finding out just through word of mouth. And then the guys get to actually see, oh, this is real. This is legit. This is set up nicely.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I'm always enamored with young pitching, and just going up to Mackenzie Gore and asking how he's feeling, probably the most innings he's ever thrown. Getting to talk to some of the younger guys has always been fun when we get to do what we do. And, our paths don't cross. We're in, we might as well have been in the Stone Ages. I get it. The game's different, but I still have passion for keeping guys healthy and just talking them through it and seeing what they're thinking about when it comes to training and trying to get to that next level. We all did it when we were playing. We wanted to play as long as we could. We got a chance to do that. And I just encourage young guys when I get to meet them. From the booth, everything's different. We know that. But when you get to talk to them and they get to ask questions, that's a lot of fun.
Let me ask you this along those lines about training and stuff. You see, I want to jump in a little baseball talk. You see basically pitchers, they're not getting to that seventh inning anymore. Yeah, I mean, can you attest to that and explain why that's going on? Is it a minor league thing? Are they not trying to extend them anymore? Because it just seems like every time they get to that fifth inning, they're trying to bring somebody else in.
To me, it's just an analytical model, and it's a byproduct of what they're asking players to do. It's really not players' fault. The byproduct of just getting in and out of trouble, they don't do it. So when they get in trouble, they expect to be taken out. The training for hard throwing and max effort and spin is definitely taken over. It's not a good product long term. We all know that. But there's so many arms and factories that are being developed that I think analytically and financially, they feel like this is pieces to the puzzle they can keep placing and replacing. I would hate it. I tell people all the time, when they put a uniform on you, play as long as it's your career. It's not theirs, and play as long as you can. And that's not the idea anymore. So the elite will rise up and the elite always will find a way to navigate and adjust. But it's the middle to guys that haven't developed, and I call it de-developing greatness, because there's a lot of great players. There's more young players that in our game today that could impact in a way that never before, but they won't be given the chance to play 10 to 15 years. So, they're getting paid really well. But as you guys know, to play this game is an honor and a privilege, and to play it as long as you can, gosh, that was just a treat for us and our generation.
John, did you see Scherzer's comments? He was on our show the other day, and he said that, obviously he's not anti-pitch clock. He just wants more input from the pitchers when they're deciding what to do, and they might tweak the rules again, right? Take a couple seconds off of the clock. But his big thing was, he said he spoke to doctors. He even said the names, right? Meester and who was the other one? Was it Elatrash or one of the other big doctors that he spoke to? And he said that they saw more severe elbow/arm injuries this year. So even though the numbers were maybe a little bit similar in terms of who was going on, it's like they were out longer and the injuries were more severe. And obviously it's hard to just completely pin that on something, but Max thinks because of this conversation all tumbling down where it's like max effort and guys are taking more huffs and puffs between pitches, if they're not doing that now and they have to reverse, it could lead to an injury.
Yeah, if there were a ton of pitch, I love Max. I think he's brilliant, smart, played a long time. If there was a bunch of pitchers in his age group, I'd say that's really relevant. But I don't think it's relevant to the point that we just talked about earlier. The way they're training and the way they're throwing, there's no chance guys are going to stay healthy throwing 99 to 100 miles an hour and 94-mile-an-hour sliders. It's just not physically possible. And so whether you're pitching every 5 seconds or every 5 minutes, the theory is the same. Now, the recovery and the training will have to change, and people will adjust this year because the game was played at this speed without a pitch clock forever. And it just got slowed down. It got bogged down with information. And I get it. I mean, when you're older and you got to adjust on the fly, that's difficult. But the percentage of pitchers that we're talking about and the amount of injuries that are happening, I knew this was going to be a topic because it was going to be an easy, when we're not looking at injuries as a whole, which we're not, then I don't understand, it doesn't matter what you put in there, that we're not interested in preventing injuries. We're just interested as an organization of baseball to just keep plug and play. So until teams look at the injury prevention part, then all of this is just going to keep happening no matter what, in my opinion, you ask pitchers to do.